People will always follow you when you're being real versus who you're trying to be. Like that authenticity will just shine. It doesn't matter if you're awkward or you're shy or you fumble over your words. Great. That's good. That means you're a real person. I like to communicate. I like to talk to people and try to understand them and read rooms. And so what this means for your audience is you can take anything unrelated to what you do as practice. It didn't have to be communication. That just happened to be mine. I like communication, but you could talk really about anything. So if you like coffee, if you liked, I don't know, you find you like arranging flowers, whatever you as a person, forget what you do for a living. What do you like as a person? Do that and talk about that. And let the law be second.
Because 1,000% agree.
The authenticity will be there. Mine was communication. But if I wanted to, and let's say I have a friend who's very OCD about coffee. Like he's had to brew his coffee beans, how to steep it, everything. Let's say that was my thing. I could have done the same thing. I'd still grow the audience because I'd be doing that first and forward, and you're going to find a community there. They'll find that you're an attorney. And that's what it's about anyway. You trying to just sell yourself that you're always, I can handle your legal case? They will know that. They will find you.
I turned 61 in April, and I feel like most of my life I looked at 61 like, that is fucking old. And now I look at 61 and I think it feels like 41, really.
My husband just turned 50 yesterday. And you look really good. So I want to ask you, for his sake, what do you do?
Well, your husband turning 50 is probably significant. So you need to give him a little love and encouragement because psychologically, I think for a man or a woman, when they turn 50, there's something about the psychology of maybe society looks at it like, okay, now you're officially old. But really, that's such bullshit. That is such a old way of thinking, maybe in the 50s. But nowadays, it's just so different. In terms of my secret to a quality of life is I eat healthy, but it's a struggle. I love good food and I love dessert and I like to have good wine or a martini or something. So I try to limit it. I try to limit how much of that stuff I do. And then I exercise fairly religiously.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, I do hot yoga. I found hot yoga late in life. I used to hate yoga, and I think I hated it because my wife was really into it, like always in yoga. My daughters would go to yoga, and anytime I'd say, do you want to go to brunch? She's like, no, we have a yoga class with this guy or this place or that school. Or do you want to go to the movies? No, a 4 o'clock yoga class. And so I complained so much, they got me a sweatshirt that said, fuck yoga. And I used to wear it so proudly and so defiantly. And then at one point, I guess my wife knows how to reach me. She said, you know, you really would love yoga. And I said, I don't know. And she said, look, I don't get it. It's a great workout. You're surrounded by beautiful women wearing leotards. And I don't understand why it is, or maybe you said next to nothing, but I don't understand why you would be opposed to that kind of workout. And I thought about it. I thought, you are persuasive. So
that's why she became a lawyer.
Yeah, right. There you go. She's going to take the bar in February. But so I got really into hot yoga. I liked the fact that every time I went, I stretched. I think as you get older, you feel your injuries and sports injuries and all those things more. So I got to stretch. I got to the heat sort of goes deep into your muscles, and it feels like you're sweating out, pouring sweat, all the toxins, all the chemicals, all the alcohol or whatever it is. And every class I came out of there thinking, I feel really good. And so I think the secret, I'd say the short answer, but that would have been 15 minutes ago. But I think eat well and exercise and surround yourself with good company.
I love stress. It's a sickness.
But see, I like stress too, but it's like I do feel the stress.
Yeah. The only times that I feel it is whenever a million people are asking me questions at the same time. It's like, fucking chill. Like, I'll get one at a time.
I
blinded
start
about.
ignoring people.
If you have a problem, start to think of the solution.
Right.
Yeah, just come to me.
Well, they
like the firm
say,
too. Just come with me. Like if you have something, it's not the end of the world. Just figure out here's what happened. Here's what I think we should do. What do you think? Then it's fine. Don't come in with every situation that the fucking firm is on fire. No, it's not. There's a work through. Just start to think about it.
well, they say that stress is and I don't know who said this. I was watching a
Plato.
real, no.
Socrates.
No.
That was a Bill
Someone not that
joke.
great. They said that stress is inaction.
If you have a solution,
Right.
there's no longer stress.
Yeah. And then my husband the other day, so I'm like not proud about this, but because we've been moving so much, we're so privileged. And here I am upset because things aren't moving quick enough. And he was like, Maria, you have to choose your luxury. You have the luxury to go and get a hotel. You don't have the luxury to be upset about stupid shit.
Well, I like that.
When you have a job or run a business, it's like, I'm not very good at this thing, but you've been taught to kind of push. And it's like, no, if you're not good at it, hire someone that's good at it. So I don't ever want my kids to go through that where they feel like I need to do it all. Obviously, if they're like failing or something, we need to address that. But I want to foster like what they excel in.
I love that. I also think the reality of entrepreneurship too is when you're first starting, you are doing everything. And it's like, I feel in a lot of ways like my life today, Maria, is so easy because I have people doing all the things I hate to do now. And it's like, it took a while to get to this point, but now I'm like, oh man, like my job is, I get to look at our data and look at our finances, and I get to come up with funny Instagram topics, and I get to manage all of our important relationships, and I get to lead our leadership team and marketing team meetings and get to work with the team. And when it comes to the actual like nuts and bolts of the processes and the actual training of new employees, I'm not involved at all.
Oh, I hate that
And
part too.
that's the way it has to be.
Yeah. What do you think is better? Phone rings to all the intake specialists. None are available. Should it go to the paralegals who are in the middle of doing something and they're distracted? And it's so hard, in my opinion. And I hear this in intake where they're still working on whatever it is they're working on, even during the intake, because it's so, and I'm not, I can relate. I think when you're in the middle of doing something and then my kid walks in and they want something and I'm just like, I'm not listening to you right now. And I literally have to turn to my kid and be like, hey, I want to give you the attention that this deserves. I'm in the middle of something. I can't do that for you right now, but I do want to give you that attention, right? Obviously they can't, a paralegal can't do that on the phone with. So is it better for it to go to a paralegal that might not be able to turn that switch off and then the new switch on, or for it to just go to after hours?
I actually have a very strong opinion about this.
Oh, good. I love strong opinion.
I always want to be diplomatic, though.
No, fuck that. This
Fuck
is not
that.
this is not the podcast to be diplomatic. People do not listen to this that get offended easily because
Yeah.
they would just live offended.
So there's something to be said about transferring a call that means that it could be more work for someone, right? And then giving them the power to make the decision of whether this is a new work order, essentially, if we're putting it in those terms, right? So if a paralegal is busy and they have a responsibility, it's really not fair for them either to have to stop what they're doing and then process an intake and then I'd be expected to follow up on that intake. They're most likely going to miss best practices to maybe enter it into the system, which we see all of the time. They're just trying to get it off. They're trying to get back to what they were doing. They may not enter it into the system, so it doesn't go into this follow-up funnel. Or in the event that they feel that they are overworked at that moment, they may set a higher criteria than the firm has in order to reject the case because they don't want to open another file.
Thank you. I was hoping you would hit on this.
Yeah.
Because there's reason why people that are going to work on the case, especially if they're not vested in it, obviously if you're a partner or the owner, shouldn't have to sign up the case because now it's like, oh, here's another case where I'm going to have more work, right? And that's the reality of things, right? It's like, I don't even want to get into it, but I feel very strongly about it too.
It's true. And that's why I have a very strong opinion about it.
let's start out with the premise that most people who try to outperform the market do not outperform. It's simple math. The fees, the expenses of their portfolio drag down the performance of the portfolio relative to the market. So pretty much everybody starts with the market return. That's what you can get. Guaranteed with an index fund, an index fund that charges some of them 0.01%. I mean, very, very low fees. You can get the return of the stock market, of the bond market. Exactly what the return of the markets are. Or you could try to beat the market, try to outperform. And the first thing is, with that, is you are going to have to try to do more trading. You're going to do more trading, or maybe you're going to hire a manager who's going to charge you to manage the account, and they're going to take a fee off of that. And then the person who is going to pick the managers who are going to beat the market, or they think are going to beat the market, they're going to charge you a fee, and that's the advisor. So you have the mutual funds that are charging maybe 1% fee, and then you have the advisor who's going to charge a 1% fee. And no matter what happens to you and what happens to your portfolio, doesn't make any difference, they are always going to get paid their fee, always. But what will happen is, if you think about it, the market has only got a finite amount of money that can be returned in the market. There's a finite amount to the penny. And you can get your fair share of that, or you could pay 1 to 2% to an advisor and mutual fund managers and try to beat that. But the first thing you have to get over, the first hurdle you have to get over, is the fees that you're paying to these other people. And then you have to believe.
Even if they don't beat the market, even if you lose money, they still get their fee, correct?
Always get their fees.
That's mind-blowing.
That's why the advisors, their big thing is assets under management. The more money they manage, the more fee they make, regardless of whether or not you make a dime. It's a game of asset collection, asset gathering.
I heard they had a monkey throw at a dart and to see, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the dartboard analogy the Wall Street Journal started back in the 1980s, where they put pages of the Wall Street Journal up on the board and they threw darts at it to see whether or not, the monkey. Well, these were the monkeys. The monkeys were the people who worked at the Wall Street Journal. But this gets back to something that Burton Malkiel said in his book, A Random Walk Down Wall Street, that a monkey throwing darts at a dartboard would do just as well as these active managers. And they proved to be correct. That's actually correct. That's what happened. So,
I think that needs to be the takeaway from if no one is like going to take any of your advice, I think that if no one's paying attention, this is like the one thing that people need to pay attention to, because it sounds so sexy to beat the market, but in reality, it's actually very difficult. You and I talk about this a lot, is like intake and reviews. Like those two things is like, that's all I need. Like, can you please just get these two things done? And it sounds so much easier than it actually, especially intake. I think intake is so much more complicated. I think reviews, I actually don't think that that's that complicated, if I'm honest.
It literally makes me want to fight someone when I see missed calls on a call roll report. Literally, I want to fight. Like, I get so mad.
Like, what if somebody calls the firm and they don't have a case and they're the fifth firm that they're calling, and then the firm takes the time to explain to them why there is no case? Like, I would say you need to ask that person to leave you a review.
Absolutely. And we both see this. The number one, like everybody, large volume practices get those 1-star reviews. Oh, they didn't accept my case.
Yes.
And it's like, it's the training on the intake, first of all. It's like, instead of saying, we don't take that case, we're like, absolutely, I can help you out. And just go grab literally a family law attorney's number and give it to them. But it's framing it differently.
I think it irks me even more than intake, just because I think it's more controllable. Even if you are super boutique trial firm, I don't believe firms are maximizing the reviews that they can get.
A lot of firms are getting referrals, right? And if all of your cases are coming from referrals, I find referrals to be the hardest thing to scale. Because if the person that's referring you the business is not growing as fast as you are, it's not going to be growth at the same rate, right? So I think you should be getting cases from a variety of sources, not just one channel. And you should look at what's already working and how can you make it work more. We make like a hypothesis of if we do these things in marketing, we think that we'll be able to bring in this many cases. And then we just execute it, you know? And some of that is you like have to find out new ways to acquire cases. There's so many different ways to acquire cases. I mean, you should have a referral system. You should be acquiring cases digitally, like with what you do.
I'm the biggest fan of that.
You know, and I think the biggest myth with the people that their whole business is on referrals is realistically, if they're paying attorney referral fees, that's their marketing dollars right there.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's more costly to do referrals than to just generate your own cases.
Well, you have no control.
You have no control.
Was there certain points you can look back on and like think like, oh shoot, I am actually like really smart, and like because like, you know, when you have that competitive nature, sometimes you never really realize how good you are.
I artificially inject myself with 2 thoughts/emotions every single morning. You know, I wake up super early, and my wife's sometimes like, how do you wake up every day like this at 5:30? You're like launching like a missile out of bed. And I'm like, I have 2 thoughts every morning. And now it's subconscious. I would think, I'm dead broke. I need to figure out dinner tonight. And the second thought is, I need to learn something that I don't know anything. And I think it's the I don't know anything, I need to learn something is what keeps you humble.
It allows you so dangerous.
Well, and it allows you to learn from everybody. It doesn't matter who it is, right?
Yes.
So every day I wake up, I don't know anything, and I don't have enough money for dinner. And I think they're terrifying emotions that set in. And now I understand now it's an artificial injection, but it's what allows me to compete at this level still today.
What do you think the Mona Lisa is appraised at?
$1 billion?
840 million. Very, very close. I was shocked by that. My team thought 250. So, and I got to the jury trial. So Dan, you want to hear something funny? I don't want to screw up your cameraman. He said, if I tell this story, I have to stand. But should I stand? Can I stand?
Yeah.
So to the jury, I said something like, you know, ladies and gentlemen, in wrongful death cases like this, I'm not sure why we as Americans undervalue human life. It's just something that happens. You know, we pay sports players hundreds of millions for their contracts. People buy cars that are worth multi-millions of dollars. And even the Mona Lisa that you can see here on the screen is appraised for $840 million. And I want you to imagine that you're standing, that there's a 75-year-old man standing looking at the Mona Lisa in Paris in the Louvre. And I've been lucky enough to see the Mona Lisa. It's actually not very big. But imagine it's almost closing time and there's a man just being mesmerized by the Mona Lisa. And the building immediately gets engulfed in flames. And the Paris fighters are about to run in, and they have about 10 seconds to save either the man or the Mona Lisa. Which one do they save? And I pause and I look around, and they're like waiting for my answer, like they don't know the answer. I'm like, of course they save the man, because human life is way more meaningful than a piece of art. So I'm not sure why Denis's life isn't worth $840 million, but today I'm going to ask you for $100 million for compensatory damages and $100 million for exemplary damages. And then I went on to, I'm taking the burden off of me. I'm giving it to you. I sat down, and within a few hours, they awarded the $75 million. And I think that it put it in perspective.
Yeah. You anchored them.
I anchored it with the 840. Yeah. And I got this. I did not. I mean, I read about this. Everybody kind of uses a way, but I told my own story. I ad-libbed a little because I have actually seen the Mona Lisa. I talked about, why don't, I know. And I also said that if the Mona Lisa was in this courtroom, the parents would rather have their son back than the Mona Lisa. I actually said that. If they could take that off the wall and hand it to the parents, they don't want it. They want Denis to walk through the courthouse. we wish there was magic. We wish we could wave a magic wand and Denis would walk back in the door. But all we have is money justice. That's all we have. That's all our jurisprudence system is built on, is money damages, as crappy as that is. That's all we can do.